All right. Hey, welcome everybody. Chris Franks with Texas West Capital coming at you live here a few minutes after 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Friday, the 21st of July, 2023. We're coming at you here from just north of Houston, Texas on Lake Conroe. Hopefully you guys are doing all right out there, trading well and not getting too crazy with the boredom that is Bitcoin right now, right? Bitcoin is kind of... just kind of taking its time, just going sideways. I'll admit it's taking a bit longer sideways than I figured it would. We're about a month long now. But, it's part of the game, guys. A lot of times people ask me, well, when do you think this is going to happen by? Or when do you think it's going to happen by? And my response is usually, I don't worry about it. I look at price levels. I don't worry about timing. When you start looking at timing is when you start getting yourself in trouble. You start losing a lot more money. So, one of the best bits of advice I can give you is stop trying to time it all. Look for structural levels and trade those. Price is going to move when it's going to move. Sometimes it's going to move really quick. Other times it's going to move slower, right? And so the problem is if you go there looking for time-based buying and selling, you'll end up getting more emotional. Either it won't move fast enough or it'll move too fast. And next thing you know, any kind of plan you had's out the window and you're losing money, right? So don't do that. What's going on, Hank? I see you there. You still traveling, man? He's been all over, I don't know, was it Spain, Portugal? A couple areas like that here last few weeks. Brian Riley, what's up, man? Data checking in here. Ilya, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you checking in. Frank, what's up, buddy? Investing Bros, what's going on, guys? Man, I tell you what, guys. Hey, listen, I usually mention it, but check in with the Investing Bros show, man. They do it on YouTube, and then they also do it on, I think they've got a Twitter, what do you call that? Twitter Spaces that they do now. So be sure to check those guys out. Good guys, man. Yeah. Frank says that Bitcoin is waiting until we take our eye off it, or maybe he just means until I take my eye off it. I don't take my eye off it, so we'll never move, right? What's going on, Mr. Shroom? I see you there. Hank says, oh, you're traveling all over France, is what Hank says. Okay. When you getting back to the Netherlands, man? I mean, I see you guys, man. I see when you guys do that kind of traveling around, Europe, and I'm thinking, man, that's kind of like basically traveling around Texas, It'll take you from point to point. It takes you about 16, 18 hours to get from one side of Texas to the other, whether that's north to south or from east to west. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But then the Australians always like to jump in and say, Australia's bigger. Well, yeah, but Australia is an entire country. Texas is a state, right? Though we like to consider ourselves a country. It is what it is, right? Alaska, we hear you, but man, you guys are remote up there, so hush. Mr. Shroom says he's better than he deserves to be. I like hearing that, man. I like hearing that. So guys, listen, crazy stuff kind of going on, right? If you're following Bitcoin, man, RFK is doing his best to get your vote. Talking a lot about Bitcoin. I think his latest thing is that he wants to, he says, oh, if I become president, we're going to at least partially back the US dollar with Bitcoin. Man, I got to tell you guys, I don't like that idea. I like Bitcoin well enough. I just don't like the idea right now with the price fluctuations of trying to back the US dollar with something like that. If we get to the point where we've got a more stable price level, I mean, I like that better. But man, these huge 80, 90%, 70% swings, in a year, nah, I'm not a big fan of that. And the truth is, first of all, he's not going to get the Democratic Party nomination. He's not. The Democrats are going to keep him back, right? I mean, what they do? They had 8 Democrats there censor him or whatever because they said he was racist. Just silliness like that, right? Again, anybody that, if you don't toe the party lines, you aren't getting in. Bernie, I mean, look at him, you can be all you want about, oh, I'm a Democrat, progressive and this and that, but, Bernie's never getting the nomination, right? And of course, now he's really old, but hey, they're all old now. They're all way too old. But anyway, RFK comes in here doing his push-ups, doing his bench presses, and promising you dollar backed by Bitcoin. I don't really think that's a very smart thing. And so, like I said, first of all, he's not getting the Democratic nomination. Second of all, even if he did, he wouldn't win the presidency. Third of all, even if he won the presidency, he wouldn't be able to get that done. So just remember when you're voting, guys, A lot of these people, they're going to promise you things that they can't do, or even things that if they could do, they won't do it, or they won't be able to do it. But I think what it does is it brings the conversation out, right? So if you guys have been following me for a few years, during the last, not this last cycle, but the one before that, coming out of 2000, when we were bear market in 2018, I said the next bull market, which was the one we were just kind of going through, right? I said would be where we see some real institutional interest. We see some serious talk about stable coins, CBDCs, stuff like that. Not just stable coins, but CBDCs. And we've got all that, right? And so here we are now. So the conversation is moving up and up. And now the conversation become quite a bit more mainstream. I wouldn't say it's necessarily mainstream yet, but a lot closer to it. And so people like RFK, they're good because they bring the conversation out there. You got Gensler doing his best to be a jerk off. Sorry. Not a fan of Gensler or the way he approaches, his job. But nonetheless, you've got senators now speaking out against the way he's doing it, and, coming in somewhat support of cryptocurrencies. And so, that's going to help it. And like I said, RFK getting out there on the national stage to try to do his thing and bring it out there. I think it's a good thing. But I don't for a second believe he's even got a chance in hell of getting, of being elected president, much less just getting the Democratic nomination, right? Shroom is saying Kenny's at 14.1% to Biden's 66%. Man, can you guys imagine Biden with a 66%? In the polls there? I just, man, this guy. I don't know, man. And it's not because he's Democrat or whatever, but just, man, there's got to be some kind of age limit. I mean, that's a terrible way to do it overall because, some people are in better health at ages than other people. But, I mean, man, it's just getting silly now, He's not, he kind of messes up what he's talking about, doesn't remember what he's saying, doesn't remember things in the past that happened, falling asleep, falling down quite a bit. I mean, these are not good looks, right? A lot of governorship of countries and whatnot, guys, is about the way in which you present. And that comes with military as well as with the overall, leading the country kind of thing, the way you present to the rest of the world. And I really don't think it's a great look. Any party, anything. Of course, I'm not really a fan of parties anyway, but I like to have parties, just not political parties. Keeps people too decisive. At the end of the day, we all just want to be, happy, and we don't want to have to struggle a whole lot. I don't know that ever really is going to happen. I think that's all part of the whole thing we call life, right? Struggle a bit, because how can you enjoy the good things in life if you don't know what the bad, what the hard is, right? How do you enjoy the light if you don't know what the dark is? You see what I'm saying? So, just a lot of different ways of looking at this. And I know especially if you identify with a specific party or a specific ideology, you're going to say, "Oh, Chris, well, you're this way." Well, no, I'm not. And, so check yourself with that. I'm certainly not with any party at all. I'm about people in general. But to the extent that, you're not screwing other people in the process. So, but, so we're kind of looking at that, right? So he says this, it gets out there, like I said, I think the best point of all this is that we're getting that kind of that Bitcoin, that cryptocurrency discussion out there in the larger mainstream, right? And so with that happening, the benefit is, again, going back to what I was talking about a few years back, is that once you start getting out that public, getting the conversation out there a lot more, getting the knowledge up, getting the interest up, then, that paves the way to kind of, grow bigger, right? At the end of the day, it's all about, just kind of making it happen, right? It's been, some of you guys have been in here longer than me, right? I've only been in since, January of 2017. Of course, back in 2010, I was one of maybe like many of y'all. I was like, oh man, that sounds kind of cool mining that. Life got busy, never got around to it. Came back to it in 2017. Said, oh wait, wow, look at what's happened now. Kicking myself going, man, I wish I had minded back then. But, if you guys want growth here, you have to have the big discussions. You can't just hide from everything. You got to have the discussions on the big stage. You've got to have the big money coming in. That's the only way you're going to get legitimacy. It is what it is, guys. You got to play the game. So many people out there, whether it's money or politics or whatever, they argue. They complain. They complain about the way things are rather than saying, okay, well, listen, this is the way things are. How can I make the best of the situation? Because I myself am not going to be able to change that. This is life, guys. You've got to figure this out in life. Not just trading, not just politics, just life in general. You guys get out there and you complain. It's become fashionable to complain online. It's become fashionable to be offended. Man, I don't care about you're offended. I don't care. Nobody cares when I'm offended. So I don't put it out there, right? Nothing's going to change because I'm offended. The charts don't care because you're offended, right? Stop worrying about being offended and just figure out, okay, well, this is the way things are. How do I excel? How do I make my life better based upon the situation I'm in? That's what you got to do. Period. End of sentence. If you can argue about it all you want, but all you're doing is doing what I just said. You're complaining about it. Complaining gets you nowhere in life, guys, okay? It gets you nowhere in life. Let me see here. What's going on? Oh my gosh, I know I'm going to get your name right there. Desi Dorada. Good to see you checking in. I hope I did not screw up your name too much. Chef Webb, what's up? He said, didn't we used to have age limits on these positions? I know, funny thing, right? Brian Riley says you would think that passing age limits amendment would be popular because they could just make it start at a future date, which would automatically not affect them. Well, it's this idea, there's that other thing going on going through Congress right now about keeping Congress from buying stocks and whatever. And it's not going to pass, guys. It's not going to pass. But even if it did, they would find a way around it. It's just the way it is, right? So, the way that our system here in the U.S. is set up, there's a reason people get into politics, and it isn't to affect change for the good of anybody, not even Bernie Sanders. They have an agenda. That's what it's all about. You get in there, you make a ton of money. How, you get in on this job where you make, low six figures, right? And somehow 4 years, 8 years, 10 years later, you're worth, $100 million. How does that happen, right? You get out of here and all of a sudden you got a job lobbying somewhere, or you've got a book, or you've got, all of this, it's just a step in making a crap ton of money, guys. I think the best thing we could do is put term limits. So you come in 1 term, maybe 2 terms, maybe. I think 1 term would be good. Then you don't have career politicians. That was never really the way it was meant, right? If we look back at the discussions back in the day, right? When we were all coming together forming this country, it was all about, the local farmer and the local tailor, whatever, they're all kind of coming up and showing up and doing their duty a little bit of the year, the country, and then going back to their jobs, right? Going back home. Career politicians now, man. You're not going to get anything when you've got career politicians, except for, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages of legislation, right? It's terrible. What's going on, Spiral Architect? Good to see you, man. Let me see here. Yeah, guys, hit the like, man. Hit the like. Subscribe. If you're watching me somewhere, you can subscribe. If not, follow me. TX West Capital there on Twitter. Texas West Capital on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else, guys. Nevolution, what's going on, man? Let me see. High Power Coach, what's going on? He says, agreed. The search for troublelessness is hopeless. Got to play the game. Sounds right. Yeah, that's what it is, guys. Maybe you say it sucks. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how we feel about it. It doesn't matter that, it sucks, you have to do this or whatever. All that matters is that you realize, listen, life is only what I can make of it. I'm not going to get anywhere by complaining. I absolutely have to look at my situation and go, okay, here's where I am. Here's where I want to go. Here's where I want to get. How do I get there? You have to put together a path. You have to have goals. You got to go for that, guys. It gives life meaning. Wandering aimlessly, no direction in life, That's why you're unhappy, right? And if you say, oh, it's because you're some middle-aged white guy. Well, yeah, I'm some middle-aged white guy. Oh, you get all the best thing, whatever, guys. Again, you're just complaining. Too many people from too many other situations have made their way in life. Either you do it or you don't. And you can do it if you want to. But that's the thing. Most people don't really want to. They'd rather complain about it, right? So anyway, so we got that. Now we got Kathy Woods. Kathy Woods, man, chiming up. $1.5 million Bitcoin. What do you guys think about that? Now, she did say base case was like 600 and some change, right? Huh. Yeah, what do you guys think about that? I'll be honest with you. I don't really look to make big predictions. I think that's more to get people interested, but that's what it does. Again, with her saying that, and her being the head of ARC there, and they've got all that, it's a pretty prominent position, right? So at least like RFK, right? It brings about the discussion on a higher level, right? On a bigger platform. And I think that's the real benefit of it. You don't have to believe it's going to 1.5 million. But I think the importance of it is the discussion, right? It gets more people talking about it. It gets more people hearing about it, right? It gets more people going, wait, what is this? Because guys, let's face it. If you're here trading crypto every day, it feels like crypto's everywhere, right? The reality of it is it's not. There are so many people out there that have no clue what it is. They've never owned it. They've never touched it. I guess we've all never really touched it, right? But they never owned it. They never traded it. They never bought it, sold it, whatever. And it's hard to imagine that when you're, in this bubble, right, that we're in, where we're trading this all the time, right? But you always got to remember that, there's a lot of people out there that have no clue. And so we got to educate them, but you can't educate them until they know, until they hear about it, they understand that there's something out there, until something piques their interest. So they're interested in hearing more about it. Right. So, RFK, Kathy Woods, some big things they're saying, whether you believe it or not, it's going to happen. The important thing is it's bringing that conversation to a larger stage. Which gets more exposure for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And more exposure means, a greater likelihood of continuing to exist, right? And of growing. And that's what we want, right? That's what we want. Let me see here. Let me see. Let me kind of catch up with you guys here. Mr. Shrew says she is being conservative. Bitcoin to 50 million by January. Sounds like some of the things we've heard, right? Is that Dennis? Checking in from Europe. Good to see you. Let me see here. Beak Vape says, not a huge on the 1 million Bitcoin idea, but do put a 250,000 Bitcoin at 95% chance this decade. Yeah, I don't think that's unreasonable. Again, it's easy to be an investor when you're buying at lows, right? It's more difficult when price continues to rally. But I mean, again, I don't think 250,000, this decade is at all out of the ballpark, right? And that doesn't mean I don't think it'll get to 1.5. I don't know if it'll get to 1.5 or not. I don't care if it does or not. Again, for me, the RFK, Kathy Woods, all this stuff, the benefit to us as people who are holding and or trading, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is that it brings the discussion to a larger stage and more people hear about it, which means, more people become interested, whether they like it or not, they become interested, which means more opportunity to educate and to get people potentially involved. And the more people are there, the more likely it is to have the staying power and doing all right. So if you're a purist, a maxi, whether it's Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general, that's one thing. If you're like me, you're just a trader and investor, it's another thing. I would like to see Bitcoin, continue to exist and continue to do better. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't, I'll be okay. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, right? And that sets me a bit different than most people. And, and it's hard to get followers, through social media when you're not very, maxi, I guess. Right. But, there's nothing wrong with it, guys. There's nothing wrong with being an investor and a trader in something, and hoping it continues to do well for years and decades and whatever. But being okay if it doesn't. It's just almost 50 years now I've been alive, so most of that time spent figuring that out, right? Let me see here. So let's go ahead and jump over here, guys. Oh, by the way, I just saw this thing. Oh man. Before we get into this, so I just saw this thing on Twitter. They're talking about a memo exchange between Gabriel, which was SBF's brother, and an officer in the FTX Foundation, which describes a plan to purchase the sovereign nation of Nauru in order to construct a bunker or shelter that would be used for some event where 50 to 99.99% of the people die, to ensure that most effective altruists survive, and to develop sensible regulation around human genetic enhancement and build a lab there. The memo further noted that probably there are other things it's useful to do with the sovereign country too. Man, just when you think you're done hearing about it for a bit, stuff like this comes up, right? Man, oh man. It's crazy how people start thinking, right? If you don't know where Nauru is, it's over there on the Micronesia, right? I can't even say it, Micronesia. So northeast of Australia. It's a little island country, sovereign nation there. Man, how you guys feel about that, huh? Oh, okay. Anyway, let's jump over here, guys. Let's see what we got going on. Oh, hey, wait a minute, real quick, guys. By the way, I told you, we're not going to have big sales anymore, stuff like that. TWC, because we're out of the bear market, we're in the bull market, we're doing our thing. But we did have a flash event that we did yesterday. It's got a few more hours left today. So we only had 2 available. Okay, tier 3 elite tier memberships, annual memberships. They're 50% off. But if you use this code to get it, then you'll have it for as long as you stay a member. So let's say you stay with TWC for 3 or 4 years or 10 years or whatever it is, or even just a year. You're always going to get 50. It's automatically going to give you 50% off that annual membership. But the code is 50forever, FOREVER. Somebody claimed one of them yesterday. We've got one more left right now. We only did 2 of them. Little marketing thing my team's trying out. So jump on it if you're of the mind to do so. If you do it and it's not there, then it's gone. Like I said, it's either we've got 2 of them there, so either they both get bought, which one of them has already, or 24 hours after I posted that, it's no longer available. And whether you bought both, whether both were bought or not. So we do have one more available on that. Go to texaswest.capital and click on the join right there. Do the tier 3 annual. Use the code 50forever, and it'll show up on the second page of the checkout before you actually confirm you're purchasing it. So there you go, guys. Jump on it if you want. Let's jump over here and see what we are seeing. That's it. That's Bitcoin, guys. This is, again, 4 weeks of sideways here. Not really a whole lot to say. People keep talking about downside. Oh, look, you can't break out above 31, 32. You can't do it. Yeah, well, apparently it can't break down below 29 either, right? We can notice that the volume is taking place right here around the EQ of the range, which shows us a lot of, this is the area that the market's interested in, this 30,300 kind of area, right? That's it. If you're below it, it works as resistance. If you're above it, it works as support. But here we are. If we do happen to dip down, I think we may just get a wick down right below here, or potentially as far as the daily pivot here, right around 28,900 or so. I think we just get a wick down there and then back up. However, it has to break down to do that, right? And I'm not convinced yet it's going to break down. So my other way I'm looking for it is a breakout above the swing high up here, right around that EQ. If we can get that, we should be rallying up to the top of the range here, 31,300 kind of area. And if we're getting out there, then the odds are that we're going to break out higher and head up. And so, again, that keeps us with this minimum wave circle 3 target up here at 43,380. I mean, that really is kind of where we're at, right? If we jump out here to the daily, we're bottom down Stoke RSI here. RSI is finding support for the moment anyway, right there around neutral on RSI. Again, we came in sideways between the pivot and the R1. We could test the daily pivot and then pop up. Here's the thing, though. As I continue talking about, even if we were to break down impulsively below that pivot, the odds are this is just a 1, 2, and we'll be looking down here at around 27. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see here. We'd be looking right here around 27, 200 or 300, and then right here around the weekly pivot, which sits about 26, 790. Solid wave 2. And so, we'd be looking at this as just a 1, 2 here before heading up. But so, even if we were to break down here, the bears will lose their mind. Oh my God, we're definitely going down here. And, who knows? We could. But the odds are most likely that we would find support around that weekly pivot kind of area there, just as a pullback before continuing up higher. Okay. So it is what it is, right? That's where we're kind of sitting. Not overly concerned about it, not really worried about it. My eyes on this bigger picture. Had some local yokel online. If you guys follow on Twitter, I've been posting this for a while. Well, actually, since way back over here in June, right? I started talking about this range, this being the beginning of accumulation over here. Then we had our terminal shakeout with the whole FTX thing, right? Moved up. Everything kind of continued to work as I've talked about, right? And so had some yokel come up there, and what is it exactly they said? They said, oh, I can find it here. Hey, buddy, not even the actual OG Wyckoff guys are calling this an accumulation trading range. Really? Because, the two biggest Wyckoff names on social media, Wyckoff Analysis, which is Wyckoff Analytics, and Wyckoff on Crypto. Todd Butterfield owns the Wyckoff Institute there, the SMI, right? Which was Wyckoff's company from back in the day, right? Anyway, they both have been seeing this the same way I've been seeing it. So, I mean, guys, listen, I got to be honest with you. If you're going to say nonsense, it is what it is. Usually you do it without real names and pictures on there. It is what it is. But man, oh man, read the room, right? So I've been doing this, Wyckoff here for about 20 years. So I don't know. I'd say that's a pretty great time, length of time. And then of course we've got, those two as well. We're all seeing it the same way, guys. So don't talk out of your rear end. It's just embarrassing for you. And I will call you out, because if you're going to be dumb enough to do something like that, you deserve to be called out, right? But nonetheless, this is what we're looking, volume, price action analysis, suggest accumulation through here. You jump across the creek, acknowledges that accumulation was completed, rally up, we pull back, you're back up the edge of the creek. And then boom, you look to head out higher, show of strength, pull back, show of strength, continue up here, stair step reaccumulation on the way up, right? This is the way it goes, guys. And I put out a post today. I said, listen, if you're looking for somebody to teach you the newest shiny object way of trading, you're not going to get it here at Texas West Capital. You're not going to get it with me. I teach tried and true methods that have been proven themselves for 100 years. Okay. That's what we do. Now the problem with new traders is often again, this was me when I first started, right? We get out there and we try something for a little bit, and we don't really put all the real time and effort into it, but we just go, oh, it doesn't work. And we jump onto the next new shiny thing, right? And we never get anywhere. So what can I tell you after almost 30 years to do this? I can tell you that it takes focus, discipline, and consistency. Pick something and stick with it. Minimum 8 months to a year, minimum. Because it's going to take at least that long for you, of practicing it correctly to actually get a feel for it. And now I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear. A lot of y'all don't want to hear that. You want to hear, oh my gosh, I need something today. I need something yesterday, right? But when you're talking about real consistent profits, especially beyond just a simple little day trading, it's going to take time and effort, guys. So, keep that in mind, right? You're not going to learn it overnight. It's not going to happen tomorrow. So you have to ask yourself, are you really serious about learning how to trade? If you are, it can provide significant resources for you in your life, right? But again, you're not getting rich overnight. You're not going to. That isn't how it works. And I know it's not what we want to hear, right? But that's why we all got in originally, right? That's why I got, into trading back in the day. I mean, so I figured, hey man, I can do this real quick and start making some serious money, right? But paid a lot of money the first few years, learning that I had no clue what I was talking about. And so, again, a lot of you guys have gone through that as well. Probably all of you. I'd be surprised if you haven't, honestly, doing this for as long as I have. So, you guys, you just gotta be realistic about it, just like anything else in life. Okay. So Bitcoin still looks good, even though we're range bound right here, trying to, are we going to get that pop out, or are we going to chop down here? Right. We've got the dollar, which has made its move up through here, right? Big picture is it looks like we've got a triangle going on here. So while the end of this triangle here, we call this the triangle resistance, right? At 103.275. As long as that holds as resistance, we should be looking toward the downside, right? We've got the weekly pivot just a bit above it. The odds that we just fire up through this after going sideways for, how long was this? About 154 days. Really, really not likely. I can't guarantee, anything, but, after going sideways for so long, the idea that we just get like this little dip below and then break out above it, through this whole kind of consolidation area here, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, we'll see what's going on here. As you can see here, this is the daily. We're neutral now on Stochastic RSI. We're just about neutral on RSI. I don't know if I zoom in here, guys. If I zoom in here, again, look at the 4-hour Stochastic RSI stayed pretty much, up here and overbought since July 14th for the last week, right? If I look at this, it looks like a WX here on the pullback. Then why? Now these are the this is actually a little bit lower. So these are the futures, and the futures, as you can see here, actually made a new low, but the DXY itself did not make a new low. Let me see if I can pull it up here for you guys. Oh, look at that. Oh God, I hate that they did this. Sorry guys, give me a minute to change all this out. TV did this thing, just messed up my pivots like big time. But yeah, if we zoom in here to the DXY, you'll notice that we didn't get a new lower low here, right? We had a higher low, whereas over here, we had a lower low. Nonetheless, it looks like, if we continue rallying up here, that daily S1 pivot, kind of this catch area here around 101.5, 101.4, around that area would be the likely target. And then we'll just look for a pullback. And if we can get, an impulsive breakdown below this swing low, this last swing low here at about 100.48, I think that'll probably say that's your first clue that the top is probably in there. Breaking down below on the DXY, it's this swing low down here. 99.280, you should really be looking lower at that point. If we, again, with this coming down here, if we look at this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Excuse me. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, could be done. We've almost kind of filled in this fair value gap here. So, again, not really looking for this to have a lot more in the legs here. But if it does continue up higher, not a big deal. Ultimately looking for, put this in the color here. Ultimately looking for the triangle resistance up here to hold as resistance. And if we do break through there, then the weekly pivot, top of the range. Now, if we were to break out kind of above the top of this triangle here, up here at about 105.85 or so, right around there. If we were to, is that what that is? Yeah, about 105.87, something like that. If we were to break out above that, okay, then things start getting interesting. I don't think we necessarily say that's a bottom, but I could see, further rally up here to about 109, 110. But, again, trading is about understanding where your levels are, understanding where your structure is, and then hopefully having enough experience that, you recognize what the usual, happenings are, right? I mean, realistically, if we just step back here, again, we have this sideways here, right? Do that. Get you kind of from this swing high to this, other than this little dip between the swing low there, right? So you've got this resistance you're popping into. Most often you would look for a rejection in that area and then for it to fall lower. Now, a big thing for me as well is that your weekly RSI is not hit oversold yet. Stoch RSI is not oversold either. So, again, those give me things to watch on that. We've only rallied up into, on the weekly here, guys, we've only rallied up into resistance. But people are freaking out saying, oh my God, the dollar's turned, it's coming up now. But, be realistic about it. It could go up further, and we got our areas we're going to watch if it does. But for right now, all it's done is rallied up into this multi-area support here, which has been in since May 30th of 2022, right? So there you go. Again, nothing to get all freaked out about at the moment. Once more, for me, the fact that we haven't broken down into oversold yet on Stoch RSI, on RSI there, and the fact that Stoch RSI is not oversold yet suggests we've probably got further downside to go. Again, if I'm trading pivots, coming in down, below between the pivot and the S1, getting rejected at the pivot, and then breaking down lower, most often suggest a rally, a decline down toward that S1 pivot. 90, almost 94 there, 93.83. So these are just general kind of structural things that I've learned over the last, almost 30 years that I use with everything else I do just to kind of give me an overall idea of what may or may not be happening. None of them guarantee that price has to do a thing, but just generally this is the way things tend to work out. So, I'll share them with you here. You guys can watch that and see how that happens, right? Pixafan, what's going on? Good to see you checking in. Do I have an SNX chart? And also curious how you look at charts with token inflation over the years. Maybe charting based on the coin's market cap is a better chart since that builds the inflation over time. No. I don't worry about all that other stuff because people are people, right? Charts are based on a person's actions, right? People decide how they feel about what's going on in the world with the way in which they do or don't spend their money. Do they or don't they spend it? If they do, where do they spend it? Do they pick one option over another? Why? These are things that we're looking at. So I don't really worry about, basing on market cap or all that other stuff, right? I just look at the chart. We just go on there. So if we were to look at, say, SNX, I do have SNX here. What do we got going on here? I got a lot of charts here. Let me see. SNX, here we go. I mean, I'm just going to base it on what we're seeing right here, right? And so if I'm looking at this, let me see. This move up here looks like a third wave. It's a large candle spread, large spike of volume. This would be a wave 4, so we'd look for a wave 5 up, right? And so this looks like ABC down. Looks like we're rallying up. Give us a minimum expected target up here around the R4 pivot on the daily, around $3.90 up there. We kind of zoom in a little bit here. 6 hour. Yeah, so if I'm looking at this, potentially 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gives 5, right? So we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heading up. So looking for ultimately for it to break out higher. Now the only thing that would change that is the possibility here that this is an ABC, and then this is a maybe an AB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 C here. And so that would give us a flat correction, in which case we'd come back down toward the swing low here, and then we go up. But the target would still be the same. The target's still that $3.93 area based on the height here of what looks to be wave 4. So, again, from here, 1, 2, 3, and then, of course, either 4 is done or 4 is finishing maybe some sort of flat. Now, of course, you could also do a triangle, right? This could be 3 down, 3 up. So give us B, and then C, D, E, consolidation. But again, even with that same targets, still based on the height of wave 4 here, still looking for the $3.93 area. Just putting in, people complain a lot about white charts. So every once in a while, I'll throw a little bit different color in there for them. So yeah, not hating it. This is, again, jumping out here the daily. We're getting kind of up here on the RSI and Stochk RSI. Weekly's getting kind of up there as well. Here's our look off here. Taking out that weekly pivot impulsively. Not just the weekly pivot, but this swing high right here around $4.44. That should indicate, okay, yeah, we're probably headed up from there. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're looking at here. We'll see what happens as it plays out, right? We'll see if we can get this continued move up, but definitely want to get above that swing high to set it up there. And if we do that, there's little reason to think we won't hit the R5 up here at 1730. Yeah. I have a lot of charts. What other charts do I have? I have lots of them. Lots of charts. Let me see here. Again, let's jump over here at Link. We're still looking at that because, man, oh, man, look at how great that is, guys. We got a nice move up here recently. Remember I said the buy was down here around that $5 area when we got that spring? Remember everybody else was like, oh, my God, look, I told you it was going down. I told you it was going to die. And we got that stop right there, and then we got that doji. And I said, yep, it looked like this was accumulation if we were looking at price action volume relationships here. And so it getting stopped just right below there. And by the way, you'll notice, where did it stop, guys? Hopefully you're paying attention. Always look left. ALL, right? Look at that. That's where it hit, guys. Right here, previous resistance, right? You had higher lows up into this resistance, and then boom, popped out, right? It's all it hit. So when we had this doji here at $5, $5.10, right around there, and I said, that's where you want to buy. I said, that's the spring there. We should rally up pretty easily up through to the top of the range. And that's exactly what we did. If you bought down there, you're up about, I don't know, almost 60% so far. in just a few weeks. So that was really good to buy into there. And by the way, this being accumulation means we're going up higher. So, I don't see a whole lot of reason to believe that we won't see, that we won't potentially challenge the all-time high. So getting in at $5, riding that up to, $50, that's a 10 times there, right? So still looks good. Again, don't see any terrible reason to worry about it. We'll probably get a pullback around up in here. You've got the top of this range, this green kind of line up here at about $9.60. So somewhere between here and there, we'll probably get the pullback. But this is just basically 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like 5 is done. So we'll get a pullback. And then if you see that happening, you're going to want to look for a reason to go long, potentially around $6.70 or 80 cents. If we look at where we're at right now, you could potentially get down here about $6.50 and get a 50% retracement. If we do happen to break out just a bit higher here, get up there around that $9.10 area. Again, you're looking at this $6.70 to $7.20 area. You're looking at the high volume node. That's what I think is most likely to happen. I think we get this maybe a bit more push up here toward this swing high area so that we pull back to the high volume node. So it kind of ends up looking like, this kind of thing, right? And you get that move off something like that. But basically you're getting, you jump across the creek, you get your back up the edge of the creek, and then you get the rally up, kind of finish out. So I would say if you're not in yet, most likely you'd probably just want to wait for that pullback to happen and then look for a reason to go long. And then, again, I think you get in there, you can probably get in, even if you're waiting for some confirmation to come out, you can probably still get in $7 or $8, kind of where we're at right now. And, looking toward that all-time high is up there around that $50 mark. So it'd be great kind of long there, right? 10 bagger, as Lynch would say. Bamboo, what's up, man? Man, you guys, man. Bamboo has been amazing. He's in our mentor program. Oh, man, been with TWC a bit, jumped in the mentor program. Holy crud, the things this guy has done. I've been talking about him for at least a month now. But man, just a testament to when you're serious about it and you put in that effort, it just all of a sudden starts clicking, right? You get to that point where it starts clicking and it starts going, and you just got to hold on. But anyway, looking forward to continuing sharing more of Bamboo's great experiences. God, I love it. Let me see here. Eric Quinn, what's going on? He says Doge finally popped after being in that trade for almost a month. Caught a quit 6% at the open. It looks like it's retesting the breakout point now, so I may re-enter if it looks good. I think I've got a Doge chart sitting around somewhere here. I can pull it up. Let me see. We're trying to pull this up here. Come on. There we go. Doge. USDT. What do we got here? Yeah, so this is kind of what we're looking here with Doge. Again, looks like reaccumulation down here, which makes it, intelligent area to do it, right? Had a good pullback. Last point of support potentially on this. Looking for this rally up. We've got this wedge coming down. We've rallied up to the wedge resistance, pulling back. Yeah, man, I would look. If we can get an impulsive breakout above that wedge, man, that should signal that the bottom's likely in. Breaking out about above 10.5 cents. That's at wave B extreme. It's going to add confidence to that count, right? Wave circle 3 is a minimum expected target up there of almost 23 cents. And that's minimum expected. Remember, you can have an overextension, which of course will get you going further there. And again, TradingView is doing this to me with these charts. I don't ever keep on historic pivots. Just keep the ones I've got on. But yeah, again, if you're trading pivots, impulsive breakout above the pivot most often signals that you're going to continue up. And so, even though minimum expected wave 3 here at 22, almost 23 cents, I see little reason to think, breaking out through here, that we wouldn't at least get up here around 47 cents or so, 50 cents. Actually, I think we'd probably get up here at least around that 65, get us up into this wick up here before we break back. But, again, if we're getting up there, the odds are we're going to break out higher. So not hating that at all, right? But yeah, so we'll watch that. We'll see what goes on there, but definitely not hating it right now. Structure looks good. We just want to see some continued follow through there now, moving with it. Look at how little that volume was at this last swing low. A little bit more than this previous one here, but, less than what we had over here, which is what you want to see, right? Here's the swing low. Here's the next swing low. And so you've got a decrease in volume. That's what you want to see. That means there's less selling going on here than there was here, which usually is indicative of supply being exhausted and or just those with the supply going, well, the market does not want it to go any lower. It's not continuing to pull it down. So it suggests the market is good with it here, wants to bring it up. So that's what we're looking for. Oh, let me see here. Any idea about Solana? Man, Solana, another great one that I had there. Man, I called that back December 30th of last year when it did that dip down to $9. Said it looked pretty good over there. Looked like a good buy, $15 target. Broke 15, looking for 30. And so far, just really doing great. Yeah, there's where it was right there. And so we've got this movement. Let's see here. So we break out higher here. We got a minimum expected. If we've got this as a 1-2, got a min expected wave 3 up here at 43.75. So we just want to kind of take that higher. We've had a pretty good run up through here though right now. We could see this one pull back a little bit here. Let me see. Yeah, if this is going to continue pulling back, I'd look here probably about 22.5, potentially 1860. But usually when you're moving through pivots like this, where you come in between the the pivot and the S and the R1, and you don't even pull back, but if you just rocket on through the R1, through the R2, almost the R3 like that, most often you're going to get a pullback here, and then you're going to continue up through R4 and R5, through at least R4, potentially R5, getting up there. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at this, I think overall I lean higher, but right now you want to get a breakout above this swing high right here to kind of suggest that we're probably doing that. So that's $29.12. If we can get above that, the odds are likely that we're going to head up here to the R5 and potentially even the R4 and potentially even the R5 pivot, which gets us that 1618 around 43 3/4. If we don't do that, if we continue to pull back though, again, 50% right there around 2260 or so. It's right around the R1 pivot. Worst case scenario, I think we pull back maybe 70.5 at 1860 before we head up higher on that. The Richter, what's up? He says, Doge wicked my stop loss before taking off. Oh, man. XLM also did the same thing. What is the right place to put a stop loss? That depends on your trading. So when you do proper risk management, again, you have to understand how much you're going to risk. And then you look at your entry. And then from your entry, and then you look at your stop loss. Now, stop losses, you usually have to give them you don't want to put it like right below. Like you wouldn't want to put a stop loss generally, unless you're doing Elliott wave, okay? If you're rallying up because you think this is like a 1-2 here, you would want your stop loss to go right below that, because if you break down, then it says this is definitely not wave 2 finished right here, okay? That doesn't mean it can't be wave 2 a little bit lower, but you're definitely saying that. I'm just giving this as an example, okay? But if you're not doing Elliott wave, you're just doing other ways of trading, usually you're going to want to give a little bit of room below the swing low if it's a stop loss as you're rallying up, or above the swing high if it's a stop loss as you're going down. You want to give it a little bit. You want to give it a few percent just in case, because you can have that final push through below it, that gives you on a bigger time frame, gives you a swing failure pattern. creates, a spring on, let me show you again, creates a spring and a range here, right? Like you wouldn't want to be long, right, with your stop loss right below the swing low because you get this little bit here, which pulls up those stop loss, those entries as liquidity to rally up higher, right? So you want to give it a few percent usually beyond your area there, right? Most often, just as general, you're looking for your major swing highs and swing lows versus interior swing highs and swing lows, especially if you're not consistently profitable. Err on the side of caution. Use your larger swings, not your interior swings, until you get used to really understanding them and getting good with them. Okay. So yeah, trade the chart you're in. If you're trading futures, look at the futures chart. Don't look at the spot chart. If you're trading spot, don't worry about the futures chart. Trade the chart that you're trading, or chart the chart that you're trading. Right? You always have to do that. Let me see here. Bamboo says he's got a PNF count for $15 and then a higher account between 28.5 and 32.5. Is that for what is that for there, Bamboo? I don't know which one you were talking about there. Let me kind of catch up with you guys here. My thoughts on stocks. Soon crash or new bull run. Are government bonds a good idea to park some bigger money? So generally when it comes to markets, when people get to the extremes, that's when you want to be cautious about the extremes. Okay. So, how can I explain this? When we were at 9.3% last year, inflation, right? And those of you that are following me at the time, I said this, I had said that we were looking like we're probably going to get the top right as we got into the summer, right in the beginning of the summer. I had said that at the beginning of the year. And I said, then I would expect a sharp break, a sharp pullback over the next year, right? And that's what we got. Everybody went crazy at 9.3. Oh my God, the world's ending. Everything's crashed. Everything's dying, right? And then what did it do? A year later now, we're down to 3%, right? Now, core inflation a little bit higher still, but core inflation showing a good miss this last time, right? Breaking down to 4.8%. So, that was good. But it's when the markets are getting excited. So again, at the lows, right? Here at the Sol lows, everybody's like, oh, look, it's dead. FTX, blah, 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 yada, 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 right? Because, FTX thing, whatever. And again, that's where I said it's goodbye, right? The same thing happened in October when we were around $50 for Litecoin. Again, said it was goodbye there. Talked about Bitcoin down there at that 15,000 change. Said it looked like a goodbye there. When everybody was dying, everybody's like, oh, it had to go down. Everything was dying off, right? GBTC at the low. Again, everybody talking about how it was going to crash off. And I said, no, don't sleep on it now. It's probably going to go up. Went up. And, so all these kind of things there, right? So when you look at the stocks now, I think the only people that are really looking for a crash now are those that have been looking for a crash since the low. Does that make sense? So if we pull up here, let's take some of this stuff down. So if we look here at, this is the futures, the E-mini futures, right? E-minis for SPX, S&P. Yeah. Anyway, I think the only people looking for a crash from here are the same people who've been looking for a crash here, 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 all the way up through here, all the way. Yeah, the same people have been looking for a crash all the time, right? In my experience, when you get a nice, move up through the pivot up into the R1, it usually signals that this is a low and this holds a support. So you might get your rally up toward the R1 pivot area, pull back down toward the pivot, and then go up higher. So for me personally, until proven differently, I think it's just a pullback with stocks. Now, will it happen today or tomorrow? I don't know. We're probably getting toward the end of this rally, but this rally has continued to push, right? And so we want to see, okay, well, what's really kind of going on here? Where are we kind of at? But again, this is 3 waves down, which is corrective. So worst case scenario is we get 3 waves up toward the swing high, all-time high, and then 5 waves back down, or we get a triangle here, and this is 3 down, we get 3 up, we'll get 3 down, we'll get 3 up, we'll get 3 down, and then we'll go out higher. But all those suggest that we do have a new all-time high still coming in, which would mean no real crash, right? No, when I say crash, I mean this breakdown below the swing low, this big, just, oh my God, it's the end of the world kind of thing, right? So that's kind of how I would look at it. Does that make sense? Hopefully it helps there. Everything here is screaming new bull run, right? As far as the S&P goes, Tom Lee over at Fundstrat did some research. They did some research, and they found that the S&P has never had a bull run after a bear run here, right? They've never had a bull run that's longer than the bear run that's crashed back down. So basically what he's saying is, I don't know if I said that exactly right, but basically what he's saying is, listen, there was 280 days here on that drop, right? In that bear market. Since that bear market, we are now 200. Oh, this is the weekly. Geez, I'm sorry. Let me go to the daily here real quick. I've already got it here. Okay, we'll just deal with this. So again, from the all-time high here down to the bear market low, 282 days. And from that bear market low to where we're at now, 281 days, right? And so what does that mean? That means that unless we drop below that bear market low in the next 2 days, well, I guess it has to actually be in the next day, right? It would have to be 282 days. So by Monday. So unless we drop here by Monday, what he says is that research shows that because this will then be longer come Tuesday, right? Then the bear market, we should go up to new all-time highs. So another way of thinking it there. So yeah, I mean, and of course that would go in with what I've been saying, right? By the way, you'll notice, remember I've been talking about this forever and a day, this kind of barrier triangle here, had this target up here at about right around 46, 41. We've hit 46.09 so far. I mean, so pretty dang close, from way back over here when this was already figuring out back in April. So if you've done that, congrats. Made some decent money, right, on the breakout here at the end of May. So yeah, even if you did here, there was your buy there, or even your buy on the breakout above wave B here. Notice we gapped. I don't know if you guys can see that. We gapped up right here. This was a Friday. Gapped up above that. At wave B resistance. Right? So, yeah, breakaway gap right there. Usually happens over resistance. So that was a good move, again, it works out well. So yeah, I think stocks in general, I think if anything, it's a pullback until it proves differently. The onus is completely on the market to show it. And we've come up so far now, nothing that happens right here or even right here should have you thinking, oh my God, we're going down low yet. There's too much that it has to work through. Too many things have to happen. So just be careful with that, okay? Let me see here. Oh, TME. Oh, TME. Okay. You have a PNF count for TME. Let me see. Let me pull that up here real quick. I don't think I've got TME at all, so I'm going to make a new chart here. Completely missed you writing that in there. Let's see, TME. Let's see where we're at here. And you said you've got a PNF target around 15 and then a larger one up there at 28.50 to my bad. Stop that. All right, 28.50 to 32.50. Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense with where we're at here. Starting based off this accumulation range, I'm sure. Reaccumulation range, adding on to it. Yeah. I mean, just visually looking at this makes a lot of sense. Let me see here. Yeah. So we'll see what happens if we can get this. If we can get this rally up through here, I think that sounds pretty good. It looks pretty good just based on structure. Looks pretty legit. Let's see here. So this would give us then, let's see if we pulled back how far here. This is probably wave 3. Let's kind of zoom into the weekly. Why not on 3-day? There we go. That's better. We could be getting a bit more, probably looks more like this range here. Yeah, so I mean, we could potentially see a wick down here toward that 38.2, right around 615 or so, maybe. Kind of gets us, or just a little bit lower there, get us into this kind of this stuff right here. If we were to get that, I mean, that gives us minimum expected right there around 1186 based off that. But again, you know, stair-step accumulation up toward these targets here. But you notice those PNF targets align really well with where you have structure, right? Right here. And that's what you should be seeing a lot of when you're doing with the PNF. So yeah, I like that. Let me see here. Pixafin says, yeah, funny that EWI is still convinced of a true breakdown coming in soon. They say that the recent rally is only a few tech stops. Without that, S&P would look weak. I mean, you know, they're not wrong. It is a few there, right? But it's continued. And the breadth is actually growing a bit, right? But a lot of what EWI is looking at is, you know, Prechter's idea that, you know, that large fourth wave. Remember, I talked about this before, where wave 2 was the Great Depression. That super cycle. And so a lot of what they're looking at is wave 3 is top. My big issue with that, again, as I've talked about before, is that we didn't really have any kind of blow off top here. We just kind of rounded off and came down. And so, you know, generally what you would expect is some sort of strong end and then a, you know, really just kind of a move down, right? And I don't know. You know, could it be? I mean, anything can happen, guys. But this has been a heck of a run, though. Let me see here. I mean, until you break out to a new all-time high, you know, it could still break down lower. I mean, we're up over 85%. We usually don't get retracements quite that high. You know, because if for what they're saying, this would be like a 1-2 here. You know, could it be? Yeah, I mean, maybe you could. I don't know. You know, maybe you could count this as 5 down somewhere here, and then you know you get an A and then a B and then a C up here. So you know you can't discount. You can't say it's not going to happen. But looking at you know the idea that you're sitting down here waiting for that drop, so you miss all this rally doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Let's see here, monthly. Monthly's topping out there. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Route up the R1 pivot here. Nothing's guaranteed, guys. But until the market starts showing me something different, I'm going to look at it the way I have. But if it does, here's the important thing though, guys. If it does show something different, if new information comes in, right? If the way I'm looking at the charts, if it doesn't continue to follow in the way that makes sense, yeah, I'm going to change what I'm thinking. And you'd be silly not to. I know a lot of people online, a lot of amateur traders, they get on there online and they say, well, this person or that person's so terrible because they changed their mind, right? Well, I mean, if you're flip-flopping daily, well, that's something different. But, if you've got this bigger picture and you've got these things and these ideas, right? Well, and things start happening differently. You can't just sit there and keep going, oh yeah, well, it's going to go happen no matter what. No, you got to pay attention. You got to change. So when I was looking at gold, you guys that have really been following me for years, I was initially looking at the idea that this was going to be like an A, a B, and a C back down here, right? Toward $1,000, $900, right? But then on this right here, seeing this rally up off this low here and locally in with it, and look at it. Because I'd said, well, if I'm wrong, then it's possible, this could be a 4 and we've got a 5 still to go. Maybe like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. And so new information came in the form of price action over here during this month. What was this month here? This was November of last year. And I said, okay, well, with that price action there, I'm going to start leaning toward the idea that we're going to break out and get a new all-time high. And so, that's been my switch since then, right? It's been the idea that, okay, that other way we were looking at was possible is what we're looking at now to get us a new all-time high. So I just say that because I want you guys to understand that don't get married to some idea. I mean, don't flip-flop every day. You need to have more conviction than that, right? You need to have an understanding of what's going on. But until a thing actually happens, the other thing can still happen, right? Which means you have to be open. You have to be ready to see something else potentially occur. Does that make sense? You can't just sit there and hold on blindly forever, right? You've got to be willing to change your mind if something happens that changes everything. So just keep that in mind, guys. Just keep that in mind. Let me see here. Let's see where, just out of curiosity, where market cap dominance is here. Okay, we're going to break down a little bit further here. So maybe we look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down right around this area. I mean, it's our 50% pullback. This is the area we're looking for the pullback, either the 38.2 or the 50%. We're nearing a breakdown here and oversold. We're caught a bit above that, though, at the moment. If we actually look at, well, that swing. If we look at, well, that's not even the swing low there. I was going to say, if we look at this swing low here, but the swing low is actually the next candle over. It's a big bump up. I was going to say, hey, we've got a lower low here, higher lows here. But nonetheless, look at this, maybe A, B, C here finishing off. If we can get a breakout back above this 50.3, we should be rallying up here at least to around 53.70, and that'll just be 5 of 3. We'll get a wave 4 pullback. We'll get a wave 5 up based on my count here coming off that swing low, right? So, if we're looking here at this, again, we've got our range right here, broke out, retested, broke out, retested the retest, looking to break out higher here, continue up. We've got a lot of big candles coming down, which makes it, potentially a pretty easy move up there towards 60. So, we'll wait and see what happens. This running up to 60 would make a lot of sense with Bitcoin taking off. So let me just give you guys a little clarification here. I've talked about with this sideways action here, that if we happen to get a breakout above the swing high, we should have a pretty quick move up toward 38, 40,000 at least. Of course, we got our 43,380 target up there. But that kind of move up, I think, would go hand in hand with a larger kind of move up here for dominance. Because, there's very few people actually out there who are not looking for some sort of pullback here, whether it's local or most of them looking for a much larger pullback or even a new low. So breaking out above this area really is going to catch, I think, a lot of traders off guard. So, but until things happen, guys, your job is to sit there and be patient. Your job as a trader is not to try and make things happen on the chart. It's not to make the chart say, oh my God, this has to happen. Okay. Your job as a trader is just to sit and wait here with your ideas of what may be happening and why, right? And that's to sit here and wait for it to happen. It's patience. Patience is part of what you're doing here. So again, we've been kind of sideways all over here, kind of hung out on top, came back down, hanging out at the bottom. Volume overall kind of dropping off. I really just don't like this initial wick here. I'll be honest with you. This keeps me iffy about the range. But, again, jumping out here on the daily, your volume kind of dropping off other than that 1 point there. So I'm still iffy about that. But again, could get a wick down here and then a rally back up, or could just go from here, last point of support, rally back up. But if it does continue impulsively down through the pivot, then, again, you're just looking back down here toward the weekly pivot area. Drop on down. You got this fair value gap here right around, what is that, 27,000? 27,100, right around there. So, yeah, good target area, right? Right before that, 27,246 or so is where that 61.8 retracement is. Why would you freak out thinking it has to go way down here when all you have is a couple of big candles to get through, and then you have all this sideways, which sits on all this other sideways? I'm not saying it can't go down and do that, but why would your default thought, if you're not emotional, why would your default thought be, oh my God, if we're dropping through here, we have to go way down there, right? Does it make a lot of sense, right? Let the charts tell you what they're going to do. Trade that. Don't try and tell the charts what they have to do or what you think they need to do or, whatever else. Let the charts tell you what they're going to do, guys. Trading's a lot easier if you do that, okay? So anyway, that'll do it. I'm done. I'm going to get out of here. If you're in the mentor program, again, guys, we'll meet here at about 1:30. So that's, guys, what is that? About 40 minutes? No, I'm sorry. It's an hour and 10 minutes from now. So we'll do our Zoom call and we'll get in with that. We're going to continue talking about market structure today. Guys, at the end of the day, there's 2 bits of advice I can give you, okay? Number one, most important thing is the only thing you control is how much you lose, which means risk management is absolutely the most important thing you're going to do day in and day out as a trader. Period. End of sentence. That's all there is to it, okay? The second thing is stop jumping in just because there's a chance. Look for the higher confidence trades, the trades that show a confluence of factors that signal, okay, you're probably more likely right than wrong. If you can do those 2 things, you're going to be 95, 99% ahead of most retail traders out there. That's all you have to do, those 2 things, okay? But if you refuse to do those 2 things, well, the odds are you're going to lose money, and you're going to continue losing money. And there's not a whole lot anybody can really do about that, okay? Other than you. You got to be the one to make the changes, guys, okay? I like to say I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make them drink. I can tell you guys all day long what you need to do, why, how these things look, and why, the importance of all these things. But until you actually do it yourself, you're not going to see any change in your trading. So there it is. Don't forget, guys, starting next week, we'll just be on Fridays now, okay? Because I'm with Scott there on Wednesday mornings at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And then we'll be doing this on Fridays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I'm going to start picking up posting shorter form videos, 5 or 10 minutes throughout the week. Over the next few weeks, I'll start kicking that in. Fibaswani, I'm not sure if he's going to be with us next week. I know he's in Iceland, I think it is right now. So he's on vacation, but as soon as he's in, I'll let you guys know. And of course, as I said, we'll start bringing in other traders as well for the weeks that Fibaswani's not on here. So, if you've got traders that you think would be great on here, go ahead and tag them. I'll probably put a post there on Twitter, and you guys can tag them in that. And we'll see if they're interested in coming on and talking to you guys about the way that they're seeing the charts and what they're looking at. All right? You guys have an amazing weekend. Trade safe. And man, oh man. Oh, don't forget, go to TexasWest.capital. Use the annual tier 3 elite tier there. Use the 50 forever, 50 forever as the code. Get 50% off for as long as you remain a member, however long that is, no matter what the prices are. By the way, our prices are going up soon, guys, just so you know. Because what we do is that good. It is what it is, right? You guys come in, tier 3, got over 20 different assets right now. Going to add more that you guys are getting intraday and daily updates on. We make it easy, right? Of course, education, stuff like that too. So, all right. Really appreciate you guys showing up as always. I will see you guys. Yeah. If you're in Discord, I'll see you guys there today. But if not, I'll see you guys Wednesday with Scott there, Wolf of Wall Street, Scott Melker, or on Friday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Take care, everybody.